Today on Locked On Canadians, banning no trade clauses is not the answer. We'll talk about how they can be fixed. We'll give Alex Newhook his report card, and we're going to grade some trade proposals. We love doing that in the summer, and you'll want to stick around for that.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Canadiens. We want to thank you all for listening to us today. We're going to be talking about no trade clauses and how they can be improved. We're going to talk about Alex Newhook's season, and we're going to grade some fun trade proposals. We like to do this once in a while. It's a fun thing to do. The Montreal Canadiens have been quiet leading up until today, UFA Day. Hopefully they make a splash at some point. But in the meantime, my name is Laura Saba, also known as The Active Stick, and I'm joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Ian Boisvert, also known as Maybe It's Ian. And Ian, we hear a lot of complaints that no trade clauses should be banned because it's giving the players a little bit too much power. But it's also resulting in a little bit of ridiculous situations, I would say.
Yeah. And
you can't do that. You can't take away that right.
No, you can't. You're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube on this one. Now, to illustrate the problem, I don't have the exact figures in front of me, but I remembered seeing a post during the NHL draft that, you look across North American professional sports, professional men's sports, that is, and you look at the NFL, only a few people have no trade clauses. The NBA, only a few people have no trade clauses. MLB, I think it's a little bit more, but it's not a lot.
But also the overall number of players on an MLB team is a lot larger.
The rate here would be nice to see. Per 100 players, how many trade clauses are there? In the NHL, there are over 240 active no trade clauses. You do the math, that's what?
Quarter of the league. More than a quarter of the league.
Yeah, I mean, how many guys are on an NHL roster? 22?
Yeah.
That's a lot, guys. That's a lot of guys on each team that have some kind of no trade protection. This is stuff that the players collectively bargained for. So this isn't going anywhere. That lever will always be there for players to pull during negotiations. To me, the GMs and the owners have to be the ones to say, we're not offering these things anymore. And there will be teams that are comfortable adding them, and then they have a hard time moving on from players when they want to move on. The thing is that these players are never immovable at that point. It's just they get to go where they want to. And I think that's what bothers these teams, is not so much that it's almost like if they were immovable, you can almost just live with that and you go, well, we got to make the best of the situation or buy them out, right? Those are your options. And the buyouts are incredibly punitive in the National Hockey League. But they don't have that option. And so they try to make trades instead. And like I was saying, it would, if they couldn't trade them at all, it'd be like, well, we're just going to make the best of it. But it's the fact that the players get the control here that bothers everybody. And I do think there's a false sense of, well, this is what holds up the trade market, because I don't think that's true.
No.
I think there are trades out there for Dylan Larkin today that are okay, but Detroit is getting hosed in a certain sense. But they don't want to make those trades. And you know what? Detroit doesn't have to make those trades. Dylan Larkin, you signed a contract to play for us. You're going to play for us, even if that means we Matt Duchene you at training camp next year. For those who don't remember, Matt Duchene was in the middle of a contract dispute, or not contract dispute, but a trade request just like this, and he showed up to training camp and he's taking his promotional photos for like the Jumbotron, and he's just looking all pouty and upset because of course he is. And they ended up working on a trade and getting him out of there. Like, I kind of feel like that's where we're headed with Dylan Larkin and a lot of these guys that have no trade protection and are trying to force their ways to places they want to be. There are players who don't have trade protection who are trying to force their ways to places they want to be. I don't know if Jason Robertson has trade protection, but what he does have is the ability to say, you can trade for me, and you and Dallas, you can trade me there, but I'm not going to resign, which is as good as a no trade clause, if not better, because at least with this, you're saying you can trade me anywhere you want. but I'm a free agent at the end of this. I don't need to re-sign with you at all. So I think, I don't know when this problem really started, but as we're recording this, we just saw AJ Greer signed his contract with the Anaheim Ducks, a 4-year, $4.25 million deal, which isn't terrible. Like, for a fourth liner, that's decent money. He has a 10-team no trade list for the duration of that contract. Why are you giving no trade protection to a fourth liner? That's not that cannot be a way that you conduct business as a serious organization.
Correct.
It just can't be. Your no trade protection should be your play. That's if you're a fourth liner and you've become that instrumental to our team, I don't want to trade you away. If your cap hit's awesome, I don't want to trade you. Montreal, I'll point at them. Who have they given no trade protection to? I think Caden Gooley has a partial no trade in the last year of his deal. And I think Mike Matheson has no trade protection, which I bet was what they had to use to keep his cap hit low. But you're looking at some of these teams who are signing high cap hits and giving trade protection, and you're going, what did you get out of this deal? Why did you negotiate? It seems like you didn't. So I'm very curious, like, everything in this league evolves constantly. I don't know what happens next with these, but I know nothing changes until the general managers decide enough. We're not giving these out anymore. It's a organizational policy. We're not doing it.
Yeah. Or like, for me, it's more like you said, it's your play that keeps you in the organization. If you have a great cap hit and you're doing really well, like, they're not going to want to trade you, right? Also, like, for the most part, whether or not you have trade protection, when you make a request for a trade, most of the times they endeavor to honor it, right?
Yeah.
The only difference is if you just request a trade out of somewhere and you don't have no movement protection, they can send you literally anywhere, and it could be a team maybe you don't want to be on, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, for me, it's less like, and we saw this when we started talking about no trade clauses. We started talking about teams doing things like this. We started talking about teams saying no to trades right at the trade deadline. Sorry, players like Colton Parayko, Rob Thomas, like all of that kind of thing. And like, I remember like an overwhelming number of people were like, just ban no trade clauses and the problem goes away. You can't do that. First of all, it is something that the players have earned. Also, as we pointed out, as we talked about before we started recording, they will like lock the NHL out. They will go on strike for years.
Yeah. Get ready to speak 3-on-3 hockey league, folks. Like, that's what you're watching if the owners decide we're not doing these anymore, which is why I don't think they will.
And I don't think so.
Continue to have these problems because they'd rather this problem than the none games problem. They'd rather this
than not make any money at all, and then a bunch of money to TV rights holders and all of that. But also, like, I think there is something to be said about just, we don't want to get into a position, because why did the salary cap happen? Because owners and general managers needed to be saved from themselves, right? Every time there's a lockout, it's because the general managers and the owners are doing something and they need to be saved from themselves. Remember the cap compliance buyouts? Remember all of that? It's like you get one chance. You're not signing people to 14-year deals when they're only going to be playing 8 of those years. You know what I mean? So they had to do a lot of the NHL had to do a lot of reining that in by essentially, working it into that player, the CBA, but also taking something away from the players, right? Or like forcing concessions from the players and things like that. So for me, I personally think that this is a situation where it can be an organizational policy where we don't give them out, or it can be like tied to the value of the contract, kind of like an offer sheet, right? If the contract is X number of dollars, then it's like it's 4 first-round picks or whatever it is, right? It could be tied to the value of the contract.
Yeah, I think it could be. I think it would be better to tie it to the duration of the contract.
That makes sense.
Because think of it this way too: like, a player without trade protection gets traded, and they just signed a 7-year deal to play in Montreal, and Kent Hughes trades them to Columbus. I don't want to play in Columbus for 7 years. I didn't sign this deal. Now I'm requesting a trade. This is ugly. Yeah. But I almost like it. Like, if you want no trade protection, it has to be on a max contract. Like, it has to be on a 7 or 8 year deal.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like it's being abused at this point. Or, if you want to give it to 35 plus players on any kind of deal, then that's fine.
Yeah.
as a way to make it sweet for them to stick around, to some of those teams. But I don't know that you're legislating away this problem.
No.
I think this is a behavioral rot within the National Hockey League that is not the same in other sports. Other sports have no trade clauses. They just don't use them.
They don't need them.
Right. And don't get me wrong, those other sports have other problems, right? Like in football, there's the idea of guaranteed money. Like when you see these eye-popping contracts that football players sign in the NFL, they're not all guaranteed dollars. There's some of that money you're going to get, but there's some of it that they can just say, nah, we're not going to pay you that. We're sending you on your way.
Exactly.
So like they don't have that in the National Hockey League. They have that built in. So there's I don't think they're legislating out of this. This is a behavioral problem they're going to have to change.
Yeah. General managers and owners need to learn to help themselves.
And generally speaking, stop talking. That's generally what they should also do. It's a different problem, but I think all owners and general managers should generally stop talking.
We'll see. I don't think that's really realistic, but at the same time, it is time to do our forward report cards. A couple of you asked about it, which made me so happy. Like, where are the forwards? You did all the defensemen and the goalies. We're back, and we're going to start with Alex Newhook coming up right up next. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The biggest stage in world soccer is here, and every match feels like it has the potential for a memorable moment. One goal can completely change the energy of the game, shift momentum, and alter the outcome in an instant. That's what we've been seeing with the games the last couple of days, and it's been an incredible group of 32 because of that. That's what makes tournament soccer so exciting, from the opening whistle to the final kick. And now, FanDuel is giving fans another reason to stay locked into every match with every goal pays. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals mean more bonus bets. All you have to do is turn on your token. It's been so exciting. You can turn a match on at any time, and then suddenly you're going to see one goal and it's going to change everything. The tension builds so quickly that you're invested before you even realize it, and you watch the clock count down and it gets more and more tense. It's really, really fun. And now you're going to get to benefit from each goal scored. From opening whistle to the final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. That's FanDuel.com to get started now. All right, it's time to talk about one Alex Newhook. We kind of talked a little bit about him yesterday when we were talking about, his RFA deal coming up next year in July, whether or not they should extend him. But let's talk about his season as a whole. It's a little bit tricky because he got injured, right?
Yeah. It's tough to evaluate his regular season. Looking at his share of possible ice time in the regular season at 5-on-5. He ranks 7th on the Canadiens. So that's ice time of the games he could have played. How much of it did he actually play? So 7th makes him a third-line player, along with Jake Evans and Zachary Bolduc. What I find interesting is that Ivan Demidov finds himself in 10th on this list. So it's not a perfect metric for viewing this, especially where things ended up. But it kind of shows you at 5-on-5 where they're thinking Newhook ends up.
Yeah.
And I think when this team is at the peak of its power, Alex Newhook is a very effective third line player. Last year in the regular season, he just played 42 games, 13 goals, 12 assists for 25 points. That is about a 50-point pace, but we can't really count on him for that because he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Last year, I forgot that in 24-25, he was healthy for the whole year, played all 82 games, and he scored a whopping one more point.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this year is a real, I don't want to say disappointment because I think that puts the pressure on Newhook and not the fact that he couldn't stay healthy, but it was disappointing
too.
Exactly. It was disappointing. It was not a disappointment. I hope that tracks. I'm sure someone understands what I'm talking about. Because you look at it and you go, if he stayed healthy, what could this team have been? What could his season have been? And on top of that, you look at him in the playoffs and you go, wait a minute, is this a valuable piece of secondary scoring that every year there's guys in the playoffs that just show up and score a ton of goals. And they score a ton of points and they show up in big moments. And you're like, man, that guy's showing up right now. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Newhook was that guy in the playoffs for Montreal. 19 games, 10 points, 7 goals, 3 assists across those games. So this is a player for a long time. I couldn't figure out what he was. And now I understand what he is. He's a very valuable utility player. If he's playing in your top 6, your top 6 probably isn't good. It's probably not really good, right? If he's playing on your third line, your top 6 is probably exactly where it should be.
Right.
And he's sort of a barometer for where the rest of the forward lineup is.
I think for me, the biggest indicator is when he got injured, all of a sudden, the Montreal Canadiens team that looked so fast and that looked like it could skate circles around almost anybody, all of a sudden didn't look like that.
Yeah.
And I think that was the biggest indicator because, one game you're like, it's an off game. And then after about like 3 or 4 games, you're like, something is really, really wrong. And that was the absence of Alex Newhook.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's what it says. I know the game 7 goals are important. I know, the playoff performance is really important. And I think like, for me, like I was happy for him that after like such a disappointing season where I know he set out to prove that he fits on this team, right? Like I think that that's what his goal was on day 1 of the season. And then he gets injured. He's not able to do that. Like the joy with which he returned and the fact that he was rewarded with like that playoff performance, I'm happy for him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very easy guy to cheer for, right? And I think the playoffs kind of showed us just how clutch he can be. Again, with Newhook, it's just a matter of like what is he going to be able to do if he stays fully healthy? And this year we kind of got a glimpse of it. But the challenge is we won't fully know until we know. Right. I will say if you're looking at his career projection, his last year in Colorado, so 22-23, he played all 82. The next year, his first year in Montreal, he played 55. The following year, he played all 82. This year, he played 42. So if we're following that pattern, next year, he's going to play all 82 games. Of course, knock on wood. I'm joking. If anything else, he gave us 2 incredible moments in this year's playoffs. Moments that it had been so long since we had. Like, who is the last game 7 hero for the Canadiens? Who was that? I'm trying to think.
Leaf series?
Yeah, but like, who was a hero in that game? Do you ever remember who scored in that game?
No.
I know Gallagher scored.
Yeah.
He scored on Jack Campbell in a way that a puck shouldn't go in the net. Like, I have a hard time thinking back to a time where they had a guy who we look at and go, that guy is a game 7 hero. And he did it twice in the same playoff run on the road both times. Now, were they fluky goals? Yeah, maybe. The Tampa one, I think not enough people give him credit for putting his body in the right position to be able to knock that puck out of midair.
Well, that was the thing, right? Like you were saying, like he went to the net.
Yeah, you can watch him. Watch the goal back. He knows where he's going. He knows the puck's going to find its way to the front of the net, and he sneaks in behind the goal. He comes in behind Vasilevsky, behind the Tampa Bay defense. Nobody had any idea he was there. Yes, he banked it off of Vasilevsky's butt, but he knocked it out of midair on the backhand, like in tight. That's not an easy goal to score. People act like, oh, it's just some fluky bounce that hit him and went in. No, that was the Suzuki goal earlier in the game.
Yeah,
we all forget that. The one in Buffalo, the thing is with overtime is you shoot the puck on the rush and anything can happen.
Yeah.
And that puck knuckled and it found a way into the back of the net. And, you look at Buffalo and you go, if they had a goalie, could that have been different? Yeah, maybe, but we had Alex Newhook and it didn't go different. It went exactly the way it went. This is a guy that I'm very excited to see what his next act is, what the next step is in his progression. He's only 25. He'll be 26 in January. So he's going to play half this season practically as a 25-year-old. I don't think it's fully baked to what he is yet. And I think if he stays healthy, this guy can be a legitimate source of secondary scoring for the Canadiens, something they've hoped for since they got him. and continue to provide that speed. If they can find another guy to play on that second line with him and Demidov, that can be your second line this year, and I have no issues with that. It's just a matter of, can he stay healthy? I know we've belabored that point, but there's a reason for that, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Reason we say it for Kirby Dach.
And I think, like, honestly, for me, like I said yesterday, it's not really a matter of whether he's a good player or not. It's a matter of where he fits in this lineup. And until they get that second line center and that second line impact winger, and they put him in that third line spot, we're not really going to know the value of Alex Newhook, because this is something that's been true since he got here, is that he's been asked to do some things that maybe are a little bit above his pay grade.
Yep. Even now he's being asked, hey, can you be a penalty killer?
Yes.
Like, there's a lot of guys being stretched into different roles on this team, and he was one of them. And I liked him on the penalty kill. He provides an element of speed on the penalty kill that they haven't had since like Paul Byron.
Yeah.
Right? That's important. Do you have a grade for Newey here?
Well, like, his playoffs are obviously A++, but
yeah,
like,
I'd give him an A.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then regular season, I think I give him a B-. I just want to see more.
Yeah.
The point totals were there when he got hurt. His face-offs were starting to come around towards the end of the year. Like, I want to see more from him on a more consistent basis, and that means, him being on the ice and not in a suit.
Yes, I agree. All right. Up next, we have something that we like to do in the summer, which is grade some trade proposals. And there's apparently some fun ones. I'm going into this absolutely blind. Ian has prepared them, and I'm going to react blind. And that's coming up in just a moment on Locked On Canadiens. This episode is also brought to you by Decagon. As companies grow, customer support gets a lot more complicated. More customers means more questions, more channels to manage, and higher expectations for fast, personalized service. That's usually when businesses start looking at AI, but most solutions either feel too generic or take forever to implement. That's where Decagon comes in. Decagon helps companies create personalized, concierge-style customer experiences with AI agents across chat, email, voice, and SMS. Their agents are available 24/7, feel natural to talk to, and can resolve customer requests on their own, helping businesses scale support without losing that personal touch. The best customer experiences don't happen by accident. Whether it's in business or in sports, people remember organizations that respond quickly, understand context, and make every interaction feel personal. For me, if you've known me for any length of time, I'm big on travel. So I am very loyal to certain brands and certain companies, whether it's hotel chains, whether it's tour companies, whether it's airlines, all of that. And one thing that I always notice about the organizations that I'm loyal to long-term is that they never make me feel like just another number. Whether it's a quick response or a personalized interaction, those experiences stick with me and keep me coming back. That's what stands out to me about Decagon. Their AI helps companies deliver that same personalized experience even as they scale. We've all had those situations where something goes wrong, but what you remember is how the company handled it and how it made you feel. The organizations that respond quickly and solve problems efficiently, respond quickly and solve problems efficiently are the ones that you really will keep coming back to. Decagon is helping businesses create more of those moments by giving customers fast, personalized support whenever they need it. If you're ready to transform your customer support, go to decagon.ai/lockedonnhl to get a personalized demo and see what Decagon can do for your team. That's decagon.ai/lockedonnhl. All right, let's hear some trade proposals. So this is something we like to do in the off season. If you're new to this podcast, is we like to take some trade proposals from Puckpedia or elsewhere and grade them.
Yeah, so most of these, in fact, all three that we'll talk about today are from the Puck GM tool. When you create a trade couch general manager roster, you can publish it, and then other people can search by team to figure out what people are saying about their team. Let's start with this one. This is from Montreal Average Fan. And let me just say something. If you're putting something together like this, you are an above average fan. The title is, Will he pull the trigger or wait a year? And then there's a whole spiel here that I'll go through. At the bare minimum, we need a top 6 talent player to play with Demidov. If we can't trade for it, maybe we find an older, talented vet with some juice left to play with him until Hage and Jarofsky are ready to join the team next year. I like Tarasenko and Marchment as they are both Russian. I don't think they meant Marchment there. I think they meant Marchenko. And it would be more fun to have them mentor Demidov. I could also see Giroux in the mix, even Corey Perry, bringing it back to nemesis players for one Laura Saba. Then I'd try to acquire a reliable upgrade on Carrier at right-hand defense in terms of size in the top 4. If we run Hudson, we need to add some meat on the back end to compensate. Then I would run Reinbacher with Gooley on the bottom pair and run with him. After 15 to 20, I'm sure he'll end up better than Xhekaj or Struble. Lastly, I would get some meat to fill out the bottom 6. Klapka could be a fun ad, former Calgary Flame. So here's some of the signings. So Zach Bolduc, 3 years, $1.85 million per year. I think that's a decent bridge contract for him. I think it'll come in a little bit higher. I want to say like 2.5, 3 if you're giving him a bridge deal, maybe more than that.
I think it'll be closer to 3.
I think so too. Arbor Xhekaj, 2 years at that same 1.85. That kind of makes more sense for Arbor, although I think that walks him to unrestricted free agency. I might be wrong there. Kirby Dach signs for 2.85 times 2 years. So he can do that because that would be his qualifying offer would only be for a year. So hey, we're going to give you an extra year, but we're not giving you the 4 that was on your qualifying offer. And then Vlad Tarasenko, 6.15 times 2. I'm kind of interested in the concept of Vlad Tarasenko. Nobody click off the video. I know a lot of people get very upset when we start talking about older players and playing with the Montreal Canadiens.
I was about to bring up Matt Zuccarello, but okay.
I think that's fine because you're not giving these guys
10 years.
3, not 10 years, 3 years you're not giving them.
Yeah.
Right? You're here for a good time, not a long time. Right? That's why you would bring in a guy like Vlad Tarasenko, who I think could be a fun mentor to play with Ivan Demidov. I really like that aspect from this trade, from this off-season plan from this user. I will say the 2 trades that they have here, they're trading for Zach Whitecloud and Adam Klapka out of Calgary in exchange for Sean Farrell, Josh Anderson, Jaden Struble, and a 2027 second-round pick.
We need Josh Anderson for the playoffs.
Yeah, but I think that this isn't that far off from what you would need to make an offer to Calgary for, although I don't know what Calgary would want with Josh Anderson.
Correct.
I think that would just be to make the salaries work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Calgary also gets Sam Montembeault and future considerations back to Montreal to clear the cap space. I think the big piece of meat here is Tarasenko. Yeah. I think that's really fascinating. And we know that Montreal has been interested in adding that kind of player to this roster. We know that they were interested in Jonathan Marchessault. We know that unfortunately they would have talked to Patrick Kane in free agency should he have gotten there. He's there this year. I wonder if they take a look now. I sure hope not. I don't think that dog will hunt anymore. I don't think we need to go there.
Talk about nemesis players for Laura.
Yeah, I mean, nemesis players for me. I won't even have fun poking fun at you for that one. I don't want that dude anywhere near this hockey team.
No.
But Tarasenko is really interesting to me because I think that 125 is going to be okay. They have the money for this year. There's no point in holding on to it if somebody like that's going to sign here. And that gives you a top 6 option. People are like, oh, he's slow. Yeah, guys, it's not perfect. Again, we cannot stress to you enough. The UFA pool sucks. It's
a limited time solution. This is something that people keep forgetting. Limited time solution.
Yeah. So here's another one. This one's got some signings. Jeremy Lauzon, 3 years.
We didn't grade the previous one.
Oh, I think it's a perfectly salient plan.
Yeah.
I don't know that I necessarily agree on the players, but the concept behind the thing makes sense to me. So I'll give it a B. I think it's a solid B for me.
I agree.
Okay. This next one, there's a lot of transactions here. Jeremy Lauzon, 3 years times $3 million. Zachary Bolduc, 3 years, 2.5. That makes a little bit more sense for him as a bridge contract. Arbor Xhekaj, 3 times 1.45. Okay, we're speaking the right language there. Mason Marchment, 4 years, $5 million per year. I don't think he signs for 4 years. I think he gets 7. He's going to go to the market and he's going to get all 7 years as a 31-year-old, and someone's going to make that mistake because the UFA pool sucks, and we're all going to go, that contract stinks.
And
then years from now, we're going to be like, he's bad. Who would have thought? Man, who would have thought that 36-year-old Mason Marchment at this point wouldn't be a good contract, except all of us. We all would have thought that.
We all saw it coming.
Yeah, and if it's Montreal, you can expect to see me back here on Thursday morning telling you I don't like that contract. So we will get to that if we have to. 2 trades here. To the Montreal Canadiens, Kirill Marchenko. To the Columbus Blue Jackets, Alex Newhook, Alexander Zhuravsky, Jakub Dobish, and a 27 first-round pick. That is a lot for Marchenko. And honestly, that's probably what a deal looks like if you're trying to go after that guy.
That's actually something interesting. I saw, I can't remember if it was HFTV or someone talking to Elliot Friedman. And they asked, I heard that Montreal put together a crazy package. And Elliot Friedman was like, I talked to some teams and they said that it was crazy. And I talked to other teams that said it wasn't that bad. So we don't know what the Montreal Canadiens offered. We just know they got told no.
Yeah, that's Elliot just saying it could be this, it could be that. That's insider speak for I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah. So we don't actually know how crazy this package was.
I think I like Marchenko. If that's the deal that gets it done, I don't know that I'm going to be able to grit my teeth and do it. I think that's really tough. You're hoping you're getting a distressed asset out of Columbus and a guy who's forcing his way out. That's not this guy's forcing his way out pricing. That is premium asset pricing. There's one more trade in this one. To the Montreal Canadiens, Shane Wright. To the Seattle Kraken, David Reinbacher and a second-round pick. This is fascinating to me. I am awestruck by this trade.
I love the narrative aspect of Shane Wright coming to Montreal. There's something I love so much about it.
That trade would be seismic. It would be all we talked about until Christmas. It would be the only thing anybody talked about.
I think what I would love the most about it is seeing if the Montreal Canadiens can get more out of him than Seattle did.
Yeah. I think my favorite thought of this is them making cheeky, around the office content of Shane Wright just walking by Jeff Gorton's office, giving him a glare, the same glare he gave them on the draft floor. I think that would be my most favorite part. Do you have a grade for this whole summer as this person has planned it?
I mean, in terms of fun, I think it's a really fun conversation. It's not happening, but it's really fun.
All right, last one. We'll go through this one quickly. This one's just titled Giroux. The Canadiens signed Giroux for 1 year at $2.25 million. It's 2.25. That is about where I would really be happy to sign him. But if you need to give him more to make that work for a year or two, it doesn't hurt you.
No.
The Canadiens have $14 million in cap space this summer. The Demidov contract won't dip into that at all. They have money if they want to get creative and throw too much money at a guy for a year or two. They can do that. The overpays in free agency that I'm worried about are the Mason Marchments, where you're going to overpay for 7 years.
Or like Boone Jenner.
I would overpay for Claude Giroux for 2 years. I'd be totally fine with that.
It's 2 years. I think that's the key, right?
Yeah.
And I think for me, this is something that we have to remember is that Montreal is still in the process of getting better. And part of that process of getting better is having these veterans improve the young people they're going to leave behind, right? You're signing guys that I think it was Josh Anderson. I can't remember. Josh Anderson, Jake Allen, whatever it was. When they were talking about they're not going to be around to see the fruits of their labor.
Yep.
Right?
It was Jake Allen. He's planting the seeds of a tree he won't enjoy the shade of. Right?
Exactly. Right. And those are the kinds of guys you're signing. But those guys also get a chance to go to the playoffs. They get a chance to play with fun players. Tarasenko gets to play with Demidov or whatever it is. Right. So they get to come to an organization that is showing themselves to be a very player friendly place. They're getting to play for Marty, which is, a good experience. They're getting to come to a hockey mad city, and they're getting the chance to play they're getting a chance to be part of something.
Yeah.
Right.
Some other signatures here. Zach Bolduc, $3.25 million for 3 years. That's probably about right.
That sounds like a bridge deal. I feel like that's a standard bridge deal.
Yep. And then they have Montreal acquiring Braden Schneider from the New York Rangers and a 3rd-round pick for Kirby Dach, Jaden Struble, and a 2nd-round pick, and then signing Schneider to a $4.85 million contract by 2 years. I don't think that trade is enough to get that player out of New York. I also don't think the Rangers have a ton of interest in dealing with the Canadiens. They did a small minor league deal over the draft week. I don't think that this has much legs to it, unfortunately. Arbor Xhekaj 1.4 times 1. And then one final trade with the Edmonton Oilers. Montreal gets Ty Emberson at $1.3 million and Boston's 5th-round pick in exchange for Sam Montembeault. I think every trade I talked about trades Sam Montembeault, and I just don't see how that happens.
It's not happening.
I Florida got their goalie today in Jacob Markstrom. I don't think that there's going to be an appetite for Sam Montembeault. I just don't.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What do you have for a grade on this one?
I want to grade it slightly interesting.
Yeah, I'll give it a B+ because I think the Claude Giroux thing, I'm really fascinated to see if Montreal's interested in this player.
I'm really interested to see what happens tomorrow. Just, where he goes. Like, is he chasing a cup? Like, he wants to be close to home.
Yeah, he doesn't have to move that far if it's Ottawa to Montreal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So send us your trade proposals. We always love this time of year because a lot of people get, we haven't had hockey in a few weeks, Canadiens hockey in a month. It's always fun to get these proposals from you guys. So send them our way, lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com, or any way you know how to get in contact with us. Maybe we'll grade yours on the next episode of the show.
Yes. Unless Kent Hughes does something big, which we're always hoping for.
Unless we have a real trade to grade.
Yeah. That's always the hope. But Montreal Canadiens fans, don't lose hope because Kent Hughes does have, I'm sure he's like constantly on the phone. I'm sure he's chasing every single player, every single lead. They're going to stick to their plan. They're going to get a guy. We don't need to worry about who Boston got or who Florida got, or actually we kind of have to worry about who Florida got, but that's like more in terms of injuries. We don't have to worry about, what Buffalo's doing. All we have to do is worry about what Kent Hughes is doing, and he's working the phones, and we're going to be following it all summer. Actually, next week we go down to 3 days a week. It's our off season, but we're still going to be here. So make sure you subscribe to this podcast wherever you get podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And you can find us at Locked On Canadiens on TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky. You'll find my co-host at Maybe It's Ian. You'll find me at The Active Stick. Do not forget to check out Locked On NHL because they're going to be covering everything. And obviously free agency day is a big, crazy one. So make sure you catch them there. In the meantime, we want to thank you all so much for listening. Do not forget our Friday mailbag. And we will talk to you all tomorrow. And for my fellow Canadians, happy Canada Day.